Hi, welcome back to the Polymer Clay channel. Firstly, I'd just like to announce the winner from my giveaway from my last video is Clay Doodles Daniels. Well done. If you get in touch with me, I'll get that sent off to you. Today's tutorial is going to be all about a little bear. I've been making bears for a really long time. It's one of my favourite things to do, and that's where I get my tagline, bear it in mind, in case you were wondering. So today is going to be all about my little bear, and the little bear is going to have some flowers and a little pot plant. I'll show you my little bear. And he has some flowers and then a little happy birthday sign along here. This is a detailed tutorial how to make the little flowers and the pot plant and everything that you see here today. I make the base as well, so all of this is made from polymer clay, including the little bow. Sometimes I make them with ribbons and things. It really does depend on how I feel that the look is going to be with the bear. So here we go. I'm going to make this bear and show you exactly how I do it. Okay, so these are the Fimo colours I'll be using today. This is Fimo Soft and this is chocolate number 6. And these are one of the big blocks, along with the white one that I've got here, which is also Fimo Soft, and that is white number 0. This one is Cherry Red number 26, and finally the Sunflower in number 16. So that's what I'll be using today, and this is just a little scrap that I've got here, and I'll be using this to make the base from. These are the tools I'll be using today. So this is my craft knife. It's very sharp, it's quite good for clay work, and of course the bendy flexible blade that I've got here, it's called a tissue blade. It's really good for making curved cuts and things like that. My trusted plastic tool, this is by Fimo itself, they're really good. And also my dotting tool, I use that in a lot of my projects as well. It's got quite a nice end to it. And finally, just a simple toothpick. And you'll be seeing what I do with the toothpick in a little while. So I'm just conditioning the scrap clay now. This is going to form the base. I'm going to use a rocking motion to make sure that the base sort of comes out but doesn't get too flat in different places. And the way to do that is to press gently and roll so you still keep the shape, and then you get a nice thick base, so you can use the cutter on it and it will be evenly shaped after. Okay, you may have noticed some cracks starting to appear. I've got a really good way of getting rid of those without having to re-roll the clay. So just get some normal baby oil and just place it on the actual crack itself, making sure that it's generous but not too much, because it can make clay greasy, and then it would be too soft to manipulate and make into something else. So this is a good way of smoothing it around and making sure that all of the little marks basically disappear. Okay, so now I've just got the cutter out. I'm just going to avoid the remainder of the cracks that haven't actually soften so well, but because I've got quite a nice piece of clay and also quite a nice thickness of the clay, it hasn't mattered so much. So I'm just tapping it gently with the rolling pin. The reason why I'm doing that is because it makes sure that the cutter goes straight to the bottom and doesn't damage the clay in any way, and also makes sure that you get a good even sort of cut as well. So I'm just neatening this up with the blade and just going around the edges nice and carefully so that you can just sort of making it neater and finishing it up nicely. So I've now got the pattern roller, and this is just a simple pattern design on it that's got some balloons and some little happy birthday sign on there as well. The reason I did it quite slowly is that you can end up with a line across it. So it's even pressure, push down and keep going and don't stop, and that way you don't get any lines through the middle. I'm just using my tissue blade to lift it and set it aside. So now I'm going to start on making the bear, and this is the brown chocolate number 6. And this I find is the best way to condition clay. First, literally chop it all up into pieces, make sure they're relatively small, and then that way you get a good even sort of mixture. And then just gather it all up into a ball, and that's when I start my pressing and kneading sort of technique, and that works quite well. Okay, so this is how the bear is made. Make it into lots of little balls. So I start with basically conditioning the clay and making rough sort of ball sizes so that I've got something to work with. Again, similar to how I make other things, I like to have them all there ready, and then I can just pop things on as and when I get to it. So when I do the little balls and things on decorations, I like to do it that way. So the top are ears, this one's a nose, face and body, and their arms, legs, and then finally feet. And so it gives me sort of good proportions of what size the balls need to be, and gives me good proportions, so I know what bit goes where. So I'm just gonna make the leg parts a little bit smaller, and that's just a ball that I've squashed in the middle, so it becomes still quite rounded on the outside, but it's squashed in the middle, and that's the beginning of the legs. So I'm just getting the size right to go on, and then I have a look at the bear at the bottom. You can see like a flat part here. I do this on purpose so I know whereabouts the middle is and where I should place the legs, because that makes a difference as to where the feet will end up on the bear as well. So that's the first tip. So I'm now just starting on the feet, and I literally just press down with my thumb and use a little bit of an angle so it has more of a front to it for the actual front part of the feet, so it's got more of a lifted part like that. And that's as simple as that is for the feet. So I like to position them and give them a bit of pressing down, making sure that they're a little bit soft so they stick well. And then I place the bear on the feet, just like this. So it takes a little bit of fussing with to make sure that it will stand up straight. So just make sure that the feet are going to look right and it's actually going to balance itself, because obviously the feet are going to support the rest of it, and that's what it looks so far. So you have the feet there placed on the bottom so they stick out a little bit from the legs, and that way it actually supports the bear standing up. So this is the nose that I'm next going to make, and it's literally a ball that's squashed in the middle. It's sort of an almost an oblong, and then I just literally press it in the middle with my thumb, and then that makes an oval sort of shape, and that's as simple as that for the nose. So these are the ears, the smallest of the balls, and I'm just making it into a long shape but with pointed ends. With those pointed ends, I then make sure that they come out a little bit, and then I just turn them in, squash them together, and that becomes a bear ear. So I'm just going to do that with the other one, and then we'll have a pair. So I'm just popping the ears on now. I tend to put them at different angles, so I don't put them dead opposite each other. So I think when there's one ear lower than the other, I think it's got quite a cute look to it when you do that. So I just position them to how I think the bear is going to look. Sometimes with female bears, I put the ears slightly lower, and it does actually make them look a little bit more feminine, strangely enough. Okay, so what I'm doing here is just rolling out the arms, and I'm using a bit more pressure on my middle finger to push it down, so there's more of a dip on in the middle bit, and this is to create the arms. So basically push until it gets to a long sort of shape, and this goes around the neck of the bear, just like that. And just check the arms and make sure that, yeah, behave yourself, bear. So just make sure that the arms are long enough, and also long enough for what you want them to sort of hold on to as well. And I'll show you my trick for that in just a little while. I'm just going to use my plastic red tool. This has got a flat, blunt end to it, so it's not sharp. And I'm just making the indents in the paws. Okay, so I'm just making sure that the bear arms are definitely long enough, and to get perspective when the arms are on, I put them on first, and then I make the indents in the little feet, just as I have done the arms there. I do that on both sides. I like to do it when the arms are on because it gives me a bit more definition as to where the lines should be. And then I make the signature little belly button as well, and I do that with the other end. So that's how he's looking at the moment. So he's got no facial features at the minute, so I like to do all these bits first. So this is the end part here, and I'm going to use that to make his belly button. And I put the nose on first, so I've got sort of an idea of where the middle of the bear is going to be. Hello, nice bear. So I'm just placing the eyes now. So I've worked out obviously where the nose is, and from that I can then pop the eyes on. And I've just used the sharp end of the cocktail stick to do that. And I've just got some black clay, so I can now make the nose. And this is a very small piece, and again it's rolled into a ball and then rolled into an oblong shape. And then that's just popped on. The reason why I do it in that order is because the nose would position where the belly button goes, and then the eyes position where the nose goes. So it's kind of a process of making sure it's sort of in a good proportion. Now, you'll be surprised at this point, I do actually take his head off. And again, it's left us a round flat circle, and this gives me an idea of where I can place the cocktail stick inside. So I use the sharp end to pierce the hole, and then I put it back in with the flat end, but not before piercing the head. And this is not necessary, but to be honest with you, it's good for making sure that the structure of the bear stays put and the head doesn't fall off. So I just do it for security more than anything. So this is for the clay pot. So I'm just making it in the shape that you would normally find a clay pot in. So wider at the top, smaller at the bottom. And then I'm just going to make a trim to go around the outside. I do make the trim with the blade, so it does have quite a sharper look to it. But it tends to sort of look quite good if it's like that. Sometimes if it isn't completely straight, it does look a bit strange. So I make that first, and then I move on to making the dirt part in the top of the clay pot. I don't make it any particular way, not with any sort of great precision or anything like that. It's just literally popped on the top, and it's nice and soft as well, and there's a reason for that, and I'll show you in just a minute. So I'm popping it on there, and then popping the trim around the clay pot, and there it is. I've popped a hole in it as well. The reason why I've done that is I'm going to use a cocktail stick for the rest of the plant. So this is a fairly long-winded part. These are the balls that I'm going to turn the little petals into, and I make several of the yellow ones and several of the red ones as well. And then I use the green. This is quite a dark green, so I've mixed some darker colours in with this so it's not quite as bright as you can see there on the table. And I make these quite long, and then I cut them into stems to use for the flower part. And as I said earlier, I like to keep it all together, so I like to make all the bits ready, so then when I go to making everything I can put it all together and I've got it ready. So this is for the bow. Quite simple process, just cutting it into strips and then using another strip to wrap over to the middle, popping that round, and then using 2 more strips of the white clay to create the bow part at the bottom. It's quite an easy way to make a bow, and it looks like it's been tied, so it's really clever. So I'm just going to finish off doing that part there, and I generally do all the white bits first as well, because obviously when you're making things out of clay, your hands do get stained quite a bit, so I have had to wash my hands quite a lot because I've been transferring from one colour to the next. So here I am with the red, and again, as I made quite a few, all little balls, but again, variant sizes. I've not sort of been too fussy on exactly the size that I need, and this gives good variance. Also used 2 little balls and also some of the white as well in leftovers, so I can use the pink. So I've got a bit of a mixture in there as well. So I'm just positioning him, making sure that he's in the right place. Now this is the part I mentioned earlier about getting the brown clay to look like dirt. So it's kind of a scratching motion with the cocktail stick. And then once the clay is sort of raised a bit, pat it down again and continue until it's all rough. And what that does is that gives it a dimension, it gives it sort of a dirt look, because it's not flat, and it actually gives it more of a realistic look, so it's quite good. It is fiddly to do, not gonna lie, so it does take a bit of time. And when the bits become loose, I just press them back on, and that does actually give it quite a good look. So as you can see, I've used some of the long green strands that I've got there just to twirl it around the cocktail stick, and I intend to I actually leave that cocktail stick in place because it will actually bake in the oven along with the clay. There's no problem at all with that. And that's how I make the little petals and the little flowers. So it's just a pressed ball, and then it's rolled out into sort of a longer sort of look to it. It's just rolled out in a long line, sometimes a circle, and just twirled round, and that's how it's done. Okay, so I've made some little balls for the pot there, along with the flowers. That gives the impression of little buds. The cocktail stick will stay in place, but sometimes the clay won't adhere to it. Just have some patience, it will work eventually. And then it's just a case of making sure it all stays on there and not too much is sticking out, because obviously Fimo can break once it's hardened. So this is the process of making the actual flowers. Long flattened piece of Fimo and just rolled up. That's as simple as that. So I make several of these and then I pop them all together for the bouquet. So this is them all together. Just popped one in the middle and then the other ones around the outside. Give it a nice sort of rounded look. And then without anything behind it, I've literally just pressed it onto the bear's chest, and that will give it the best security, making sure that it's well protected by the bear and little pieces won't chip off. So the bow covers up the join between the flowers and the stems. And yes, it is quite a big bow, but as you can see here, I've now positioned his arms closer to the flowers and the bow, and this is why I always put the arms on last. Okay, so my favourite part, these are the Mica Powders, and this is from the Colour Shack, and this is Met Red, and unfortunately all the others are actually unbranded. I'm not sure where I got them from, but I have had them quite some time. So Mica Powders do last quite a while. They're absolutely brilliant for this sort of thing. And I'll be using a varied amount of glitter as well. So as you saw, there was yellow and some red, some fairy dust, as this is called. Very bright and shiny, this one. So I'm just going to go ahead and basically paint. Okay, so here's the final bear. So this bear is not cooked, as I call it. He is still soft. So this is the time where further details could be moved. And as you can see, the glitter, I've just put the yellow on the yellow flowers and the red on the red, and that just gives it a bit of sparkle. And what can I say? Just love it. And that's the close-up of the happy birthday print as well. I think these work really well if you're not so good at making the designs. Thanks for watching my little bear tutorial. This is going to become part of my Clay Zoo series, where I feature lots of little animals and little clay critters. If you can think of something that you would like me to make and do a tutorial on, please leave a comment in the section below and I'll see what I can do. Until next time, see you soon, and as always, bear me in mind. Dressed for the occasion, darling. It's marvellous. I broke my nail. Oh no. And today I'm going to do. Okay? I don't know what else to say.